host, Diane Bogino. Our guest today is Ken Futch. Ken is a professional speaker, author, and coach. Ken helps companies, associations, and individuals achieve greater results by recognizing and capitalizing on opportunities. Ken has faced some very difficult situations in life. He has had a mule step on his head, has been attacked by a crazed sow, had his nose flattened by a fisherman's boat paddle while water skiing, and accidentally shot himself in the head with his own gun. Ken says it took a shot through the head to open his mind. Ken went from washing windshields at his dad's service station to leading a combat platoon in Vietnam. From being the top revenue producer in a group of 6,000 AT&T salespeople to becoming one of only 300 speakers internationally recognized as a certified speaking professional. His book, entitled Take Your Best Shot, focuses on turning situations into opportunities. Ken, that's quite a background.
Yeah, very unusual.
Yes. Thank you so much for being with us today, Ken.
Certainly.
So why don't managers provide more feedback to their employees?
Well, there are a lot of reasons. Managers will say, oh, I believe in feedback. I think it's very important. And yet they seldom provide it in an adequate fashion. In every organization I've ever been associated with, this was a common problem. And I oftentimes will ask managers why they don't give feedback. And there are a variety of reasons. Some will say things like, don't have the time. We're busy, Ken. Gracious, got a lot of things to do. Other people point out that maybe they don't know how to give feedback. And sometimes some of the employees, when they ask why the managers don't give them any feedback, will say, well, how are they going to give me any feedback when they don't know what it is that I do? and that's a valid reason, too. And I find there's also another unusual reason that people don't always think of, and that is it's a cultural problem in our society today, in that people struggle in accepting compliments. I say, that sure is a nice looking shirt you got on. This old thing, I had it for years. Well, now that you mention it, it does look like crap. You see, we are so in tune in our culture of trying to be modest. Somebody gives us a call, it was nothing. Someone says, well, you know, you did a good job on that report. Oh, it was nothing. Well, what they just said, that you knew nothing about reports if you think that was good. So people get discounted when they get a compliment. And it just happens on a regular basis. So what happens is people quit giving compliments. My church was doing some work out in Stone Mountain for a shelter for abused children. We're just doing some carpentry work. And in the cafeteria section, had a sign on the wall. It said, how to accept a compliment. I won't be in this kind of business. I'm over there checking it out. It said, step 1, look at the person. Step 2, smile. Step 3, say thank you. I thought to myself, this is not just for abused children. This is for all of us. Some people say, well, I don't know where she was coming from with that compliment. What a great thing. It doesn't matter whether she's sincere or sarcastic. Our response should always be the same. Thank you. I really believe we have an opportunity to make some differences by letting people feel that they're both growing and, most importantly, that they are appreciated for the work they do.
Can you give us some examples of managers who do excel at showing appreciation?
I had lunch a while back with a friend of mine. She's a CEO of a major company here in Atlanta, has over 1,000 employees. And I asked her, I said, what do you do to show appreciation? She says, well, I require all of my managers between 4:30 and 5 on Friday afternoon to take time to write out some thank you notes to give to their employees. And I only ask to do 2. To write out where somebody has made some kind of accomplishment and handwrite it and send it to them. Now the reason you have to handwrite it, she says, is because if you send it to them in email, they may think you sent this to 100 people. She says, I found that most people keep what I call a little drop file at the desk. of where they keep little letters and accomplishments. And so it's very meaningful to them. She says, now for my managers who say to me, well, I don't know what to write. I say to them, you need to spend more time with your people. And for my managers who say, I simply don't have the time, I say to them, you need to reassess your priorities. You see, she understands how important it is for employees to feel appreciated and to also be able to see their accomplishments.
Is there a particular idea that you think sums up your advice?
Yes, Henry David Thoreau sums it up for me, and that is, it's not what you look at in life that matters, it's what you see. One of my favorite examples of this was my son after 9/11 decided to join the Army. He goes down to Fort Benning and goes through basing, his advanced training, jump school, ranger school, then they sent him to Fort Bragg, North Carolina to the 82nd Airborne. Within 3 weeks of arrival, he was on the plane for Afghanistan. He gets back from Afghanistan. Within 3 months, he had his orders for Iraq. He was to go over on January 16th. January 13th, he called home. It was his birthday. In my family, if you have a birthday, I always sing happy birthday. And that I can't sing at all, it usually puts a smile on the recipient's face. But I could tell Kenny was not smiling. I said, Kenny, is everything all right? He said, no, Daddy. He said, the advanced group that went over on Saturday got shot up really bad going into Baghdad. So I'm sorry to hear that. But we talked a little while longer, and he finally hung up. And about 2 hours later, his mother came downstairs. She said, have you spoken to Kenny today? I said, yes, I have. She said, I just hung up with him, and he told me he was absolutely terrified. I said, well, he didn't say that to me, but I could see how anybody would be. Well, the next day, he calls him again. This time it was a completely different mood. He was upbeat, talking about his planning, his packing, his preparation. I'm thinking, what's different? I didn't say anything. I just listened. After a while, I said, Daddy, so my first sergeant's in the wrong business. He's wasting his time in the Army. See, he ought to be a motivational speaker like you. I said, well, son, have you heard him give a speech? Oh, yes. He gave one this morning. I said, what did he say? So he told us he knew a lot of us were scared and worried about going over. He said that, however, is the good news. Because when people are scared and worried, they pay a lot more attention to details. When people start getting too comfortable, that's when they start making mistakes. In fact, everybody is scared and worried. It means we're all coming home alive. He said, Daddy, I'd follow that man anywhere. I look at him like my second father. I thought to myself, nah, that man's not in the wrong business. He's right where he needs to be. And if my son has got to go to war, I'm glad he's going with someone he respects. You see, that man took a negative, which was fear, and turned it into a positive. So Henry David Thoreau was certainly right. It's not what you look at in life that matters. It's what you see. There are always opportunities. Some people immediately and only focus on what's wrong, on the obstacles, and completely overlook many of the opportunities in our society.
Yeah, good advice. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be with us today. We really appreciate you being here.
Well, it was my pleasure.
We've been talking with Ken Futch, professional speaker, author, and coach. Thank you for joining us on Business Notes. I'm Diane Bogino, bringing you business ideas you can bank on.